Hey, what's up, family? As I always say, hope you're having a good day. If you're not having a good day, just know that the worst is behind you. Tomorrow is yet to be written. We have the power within us to create what our experience is going to be going forward. And just know that you're loved. You're more powerful than what you know that you are. How you doing? So, was walking after the last video. I'm not for sure if I'll post this one first or the other one. So, just so many different thoughts, realizations, downloads that are coming towards me that just want to make sure that I get them out. As a, don't want to say servant in a bad tone, as it can be, viewed from a slave type system, so to speak, because it's definitely don't view it in that mentality. So just coming to a realization, just through various pieces of information that come across my path and that I have experience with, definitely certain things are being grounded into my reality, and it makes me feel, can kind of be heavy at times, but then other times, once you turn around and you look at who you've become after doing the work, it's so very rewarding, especially once you see the contrast between the person that you were versus the person that you've become. So, definitely when I look through my natal chart, any of you who haven't looked into astrology to any degree, I definitely would encourage you to take a look at your natal chart. Get your date of birth, the time that you were born, also the location where you were born, so that way you can look that information up and plug it to any of the online astrology calculators. So one of the ones I definitely recommend is Astro Cafe. If you do a Google search on that, it'll bring you to the website, and plug that information in and basically see what your chart breakdown is. So, for those that have seen other videos of me, I definitely talk about it, but, I'm a Aquarius sun and I'm an Aquarius Mercury. So, a lot of my makeup is made up of thoughts, that wind energy. My rising sign is Aries. So, it's having that fiery energy, as well as I have a lot of Libra and Sagittarius in various placements, in my planetary placements. So, but when it comes to my North Node, I'm a North Node in Cancer. So basically that double compounds my humanitarian side of things, to want to nurture people. And that's one of the things that I've found just in my journeys over the years. No matter how much I don't want to say don't try to see it, but no matter how much I'm not focused on it or looking at it, I've noticed a constant stream of people to say that they they can feel a natural healing energy in my presence. They just feel good when they're around me. Basically, they can, I make them feel good. I make people feel seen in my presence, because when I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to you or to anybody to just talk, just to hear myself talk, or just to see how smart, get people to see how smart I am. That was part of my ego back in the day, because of that double Aquarius like that, because I'm naturally intellectually inclined, I wanted to showcase that to people, and feel that warm and fuzzies on the inside when I say or do something that's so intellectually sound, that I had in my mind. I used to get a rush from that, but as I really started to kind of dig into my natal chart, I started to realize that, with the placements that I have, there was something special. I mean, not to say that it's just related to me. We're all born incarnated into this reality with a special purpose. So that's the thing, is, that memory has been wiped from us. So it's basically on us to do the work that's needed. And as you start doing the work, you'll naturally start to remember who you are and the agreements you made as you came into this reality to observe and to serve. And that's what gets back to what I was saying earlier as far as being a servant. So looking at it, I'm Aquarius, Mercury. I'm a Sun and a Mercury Aquarius. My North Node is in Cancer, so that adds in that water, that emotions, that nurturing side. And I'm also a Scorpio Moon, which adds another whammy of emotions, that water, that deep emotional. So, and that's what gives me my empathic abilities to where, I could not know anyone and just walk down the street and just see somebody just sitting there, kind of with a look on their face, or maybe a spaced out look, or just even sitting there with a stranger. And I just noticed that people will just naturally open up to me. People that I don't even know will start talking to me about their problems, the things that they're going through, the things that they're experiencing, that you'd be like, man, this is kind of weird, because you wouldn't expect a stranger just to kind of open up and start telling these things. I could be going into a gas station, hey, I'm in there to get me some sugar water. I know it's bad for me, but, that's one of, I don't want to say my addictions, but that's one of my bad habits that I definitely am working on correcting, so that way, I can honor my temple, this vessel. But just as simple as going into a gas station, buying a soda, and just standing in line, the cashier, will start talking to me about something, or just standing in line somewhere, and then all of a sudden, people start talking to me and whatnot. So I see that as part of my North Node and stepping into that Cancer energy, because that's, for those that don't know, your North Node is basically what you're supposed to be doing in this lifetime. So with me being a Cancer North Node, with the Capricorn and my South Node in previous incarnations, I was experienced, I had money, I had riches, but it was a life to where I didn't take care of myself. I didn't nourish myself. I was always nourishing, others before me, or just working so much that I didn't take care of myself, to where now in this lifetime, that's why, my North Node is in Cancer, because that's supposed to be my focus. Because I have my South Node in Capricorn, I have those natural abilities to create businesses, to create prosperity, to create wealth. But that's not supposed to be my focus this lifetime. While I can leverage those natural abilities to do those things, my primary focus is supposed to be on myself, nurturing myself, going to get massages, say going to spas, spending time with family, to where when I work to make that money, not just taking it and hermiting away, so to speak, but utilizing those funds to do things that nurture other people as well. So definitely something that has taken me a little bit, to learn, a number of years to learn. But as I continue across this path, or along this path, so to speak, it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things, my life, especially over the past year or two. I don't know what happened. It almost seems like it started in 2020, but it really didn't kick into high gear until 2023, and really into high gear until 2024, to where these various revelations really started kicking in, to where, I started putting up boundaries. I was in a 15-year relationship that I wasn't being treated the way that I felt like I should be treated. And that was one of the boundaries I put up, as despite me caring for and loving the individual that I was in a relationship with, I ended that relationship because I couldn't say that I loved myself, or I was honoring myself by staying in that relationship. And it was one of the hardest things I would say that I've ever had to do, because I knew that I was going to be hurting the person that I was in a relationship with. Not to say things weren't abusive. She was definitely, as far as I know, she was a very faithful person, but, there was habits that she had, just like I had habits. And basically, I just felt like in order for me to grow as an individual, in order for me to step into my highest timeline, because that's one of the things that I'm manifesting at this point in time, you know, is my divine partner. So the way I look at it is when we are, when we incarnate into this plane of existence, you know, spirit, the divine, you know, God has somebody that he has for us to be our partner, you know, someone that we're meant to work with, you know, and partner with and carry out the mission that we've come into this plane of existence for. So, you know, and that's one of the things why I'm really doing the work, is because I really want to come into union, you know, with that particular individual, because I feel, you know, I wouldn't want to come in union with anyone that's not on the same path, that's not doing the work needed in order to realize they're the best version of themselves. So it's not fair for me to look for somebody that's on that same level, or that is on that same level, without me putting in the work myself, so that way I can meet them equally on that same timeline. So it's definitely been an experience, and anybody that's on that journey has come to that revelation, or has yet to come to that revelation, I would definitely say, you know, the scene from Matrix of Cypher sitting, I can't remember exactly which Matrix, I think, well, obviously it's the first one, so that was the only one he was in. So, but when Cypher was sitting in the restaurant, basically eating the steak, and he was talking to Agent Smith, you know, there's definitely a lot of parallels between the movie The Matrix and the current existence that we're in now. So for anybody that haven't watched those movies, that's going through a spiritual evolution, I would definitely encourage you to take a look at it, you know, and a lot of the parallels that's drawn in that movie to reality, you know, would definitely kind of blow your mind. But basically just looking at Cypher, and in that moment where he was eating that steak, you know, and he says, well, you know, I know that the steak, you know, basically doesn't have a taste, or I know that when I put the steak in my mouth, the Matrix is telling me, the programming is telling me what it's supposed to taste like, or what it does taste like, you know, and the various realities. I don't remember the exact lines of the movie, but I remember the essence of it was he was someone in my book as someone that became awake. I don't know the right term. He awoke from the system to realize that the Matrix wasn't real. He escaped from the Matrix into the reality of things, but then when he escaped from the Matrix into the reality of things, it wasn't what he expected it to be. And he was in essence making a deal with Agent Smith to betray his friends, so that way he could be put back into the Matrix, because one of the classic lines that he stated was how ignorance is bliss. And I would definitely say that I felt that way from time to time, especially during my journey, is, you know, when you go through the hard work, you know, one of the things for me is I always felt like, okay, if I do the work, then I'm going to get rewarded with something. You know, it's almost kind of like Pavlov's bell, I want to say it's called, you know, to where he trained a dog that every time he rang a bell, he would give him a treat, to the point to where he could start ringing the bell and the dog would start salivating, you know, thinking that a treat was coming. And I would say that's definitely kind of how I viewed the spiritual journey there for a bit, that as long as I did the work, you know, I went through these emotional ups and downs, these ebbs and flows, that there would be some kind of reward, you know, from the divine, from spirit, showing me, hey, you know, you did a great job. You know, I saw how hard you worked to get over that emotional hurdle, you know, so here's your reward. But, you know, I quickly realized once I got through those situations that there was no quote unquote prize at the finish line that was waiting for me, at least not in the sense that I thought that it was. You know, there definitely was a prize, and that prize was this new evolved person that every time they went and looked in the mirror, they were changing, they were developing over time. And sometimes, you know, I still kind of revert back to, you know, wanting, you know, that prize. Like, you know, I've done all this hard work, you know, where's the winning lottery numbers at? So that way I can hit it big and I can retire, you know, and not have to do anything. But, you know, that's part of just who we are as humans wanting those material gains when we're much bigger, we're much greater than just a human being, you know. And that's why I go back to saying, as far as just being, you know, a humble servant. For those that definitely know the Bible, the story of the creation, and definitely not talking about religion in the sense that most of us probably have grown up understanding it or being taught by, or I would say being disciplined by. But, you know, there are a lot of parallels in the Bible as far as, you know, the things that are there in the various stories and the parables. So, you know, I always say the Bible isn't literal in a lot of cases. You know, they're stories to teach us certain lessons, so that way when we face those same lessons in our lives, we have an example of someone who went through those lessons or those challenging times and made it out the other side, so that way we can see how they made it out, and then we can apply that to our own lives to help us through those challenging times when we're faced with them. So unfortunately, a lot of people take it as literal, and it's not anyone's fault other than, you know, the spiritual leaders that push it in our face that way, because again, that's another mechanism of control. But that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. So the reason I was even bringing that up in the first place was the way I look at things now is in the Bible story as far as creation. You know, when Spirit, you know, the divine God formed us, he breathed into us the breath of life. So no matter who you are, that same breath resides in all of us. So in essence, part of the divine Spirit, the Creator, you know, God resides within us. So I look at it from the standpoint of we're all different versions of the Creator. We're all the different versions of God Himself. And in essence, we all have our own perspectives, our own experiences, because in essence, God does that because He wants to. If you wanted to experience, say, a million different realities, or a million different emotions, or a million different lifetimes, then one way to do that would to be generating a million different copies of yourself. But if all the copies looked exactly alike, performed exactly alike, talked alike, acted alike, you know, the reality would be boring. So the one way to change that and to add a little bit of flavor to it was basically creating millions and billions different copies of yourselves, but make them of different races, you know, make them look like different individuals, you know, give them their own personality, their own way of talking, their own way of speaking, so that way whatever experience they live would be basically their own special experience that only they would experience, only they would live. So in my mind, that's what it is, in essence, that our goal is to come here as one of those copies of the divine, is to come here to awaken to our truth, who we truly are, come into that knowing that we are part of the divine, we are a reflection of Him, He resides. And I'm just, you know, saying Him just because that's one thing that I'm learning to, limiting the belief that I'm working to remove from myself, that, you know, I've always been taught that God is a He, but as I'm understanding it now, or coming to learn, is that, you know, it's an energy. So there's a female, you know, they call it, you may have heard divine feminine, and there's a masculine, a divine masculine. So, you know, the divine masculine part, the way I see it, if you want to relate that, is that's the version that comes up with the ideas of things, the ones that wants, you know, say if it's a building, you know, there are engineers that sit in a room or sit somewhere and they draw out the building as far as what they want it to be, create the specs of the building and how the building should be built. And then there's the people on the ground that's actually building it, actually constructing the building. You know, some of the things that the architects put in place can't be done, so they have to use their creative abilities to be able to tweak it and modify it, so that way the goal of the engineer or the architect can be brought into reality. It may not be 100% the way that they envisioned it, but it's still created. So in my mind, it's divine masculine that comes up with the idea, draws out the building, the specs as far as how they would like it to be, and then it's that divine feminine energy that comes in and actually creates, nurtures that idea and bring it into an existence. So that's what each of us, in my opinion, and hey, you know, you take, I don't even want to use the word my opinion, but just from my experience of being on this spiritual journey, is that's what each of us, that's part of our, everyone's spiritual journey, is learning to have a healthy balance of that divine masculine, that divine feminine energy within, so that way we have that divine masculine that works within us, that allows us to create the reality that we were brought here to create. And then it's the divine feminine that's within us that allows us to nurture that reality and, you know, and continue it into existence. So, you know, one example is, you know, I don't have any kids, but I would like kids. So that's the divine masculine part of me will be putting in that work on myself to create that version of myself that my family deserves. And once I get to that place and I have the family that I want and that I deserve, because I have created the person, or I have become the person that my family, you know, the husband, the father, the family that I would want, deserves, they need, then that's when I also apply that divine feminine energy to where I begin to nurture that family. You know, I honor my partner, you know, just like she would honor me. I honor, you know, my children just like they would honor me, and I respect my wife, my partner, just like I respect my children and my children would respect me. And it's through that symbiotic relationship that basically that divine energy flows through everyone, and it's reciprocated from everyone. You know, just like my partner, you know, she would have a balance of the divine masculine and divine feminine energy in her as well, you know, because we would be a partnership in that family, to where, you know, there would be times to where she would need to step up and apply that divine masculine energy, say maybe, you know, assisting with getting the kids ready for school. Say if there's something going on and I can't help that particular day, you know, she can't just reside in that feminine energy all the time, but basically utilizing that masculine energy to help get the kids ready for school and then get them out the door. You know, just like on certain days, you know, I would utilize that masculine energy as well as mix with feminine energy to get the kids up, get them ready for school, make their lunches, ensure, you know, that their clothes are put together, you know, they look nice as they're walking out. You know, if my daughter needs her hair combed, you know, or brushed or what have you, you know, being in a place to where, you know, I'm happy to do those things. So, and that's why I say, and that's what I think about when it comes to about as far as being a servant, is that because we are all reflections, our own individual reflections of the divine, there's something that he wants to experience through us. So it's incumbent of us to become the best versions of ourselves, so that way we can channel that source energy to us and through us, so that way we can live that experience that we were basically created to have. So yes, we're living our purpose, we're serving our purpose, but it's not as a slave. You know, we have free will. At any moment we can say, just like Cypher did, you know, hey, I'm awakened, I don't like this, I want to go back to sleep. So at any moment, you know, we can do that. But as I've learned, you know, because God, the divine spirit, wants to live these experiences, while we have that free will to go and live the life that we want, things will start happening in our lives, will start coming up in our lives to try and get us back on that path. So we can ignore it all we want because we have free will, but those lessons are going to keep happening over and over and over again. So say, like with me and being a Cancer North Node, with that nurturing energy, say if basically if I didn't step into that energy, then there would be things in my life that would keep coming up to try and push me into that nurturing energy. You know, like I would start being in my South Node, being in that Cancer energy, continuously working, and not caring for myself. Then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'll be waking up with all kinds of diseases, all kinds of ailments that would force me to start taking care of myself. And lo and behold, that's actually one of the things that did happen. In 2020, I did a fast, and after that fast, I had a headache. And in essence, after that, for I would say every single day for the past, I would say 3 years, I had a crazy migraine headache. I would wake up in the morning, and for the first minute or two, I would be fine. And then all of a sudden, like 2 to 3 minutes after me waking up, I would have an insane headache. I went to all kinds of doctors, neurologists, to oncologists, trying to see if I had cancer, doing all kinds of blood work. I mean, I just spent like I spent at least a year or two just going to doctors, and it was just so frustrating because nobody could tell me what was wrong with me, because in essence, in my opinion, nothing was in fact wrong with me. It was just spirit, the divine, touching me, I would say, in essence, causing these things to happen to push me into that nurturing energy, to push me to say, Brandon, you need to stop. Okay, take a chill pill. In essence, for some old school nomenclature there for you, take a chill pill. Focus on yourself. You're running yourself ragged, so to speak. You need to take care of yourself. So, and that's just one example that, yes, we have free will. We can do whatever it is we want, but also, because the divine wants to live these experiences through us, he's going to give us friendly reminders along the way. Sometimes they'll be friendly, and sometimes they won't feel so friendly. And that's where you have to decide, are you going to utilize your free will and ignore the path that deep down that you want to live, or you feel a calling to live, but because of certain desires, you feel like you want to go down another path. I mean, like I said, you're definitely free to do it. Just know that there are some things that come along with that, So, and that's where I'm at a point right now. Like I said in one of my other videos, I'm in my Lilith energy, because of my natal chart, my double Aquarius, my Scorpio Moon, Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Mercury, Capricorn, Venus, Cancer, North Node. When I look at my Lilith is in Sagittarius. So, I have a lot of Sagittarius placements that shows that I'm supposed to be, a teacher, as well as with my Lilith and Sagittarius, I'm meant to speak uncomfortable truths. I'm here to shake the paradigm that we've all become accustomed of living under all these years, especially with us moving into the age of Aquarius. There's a new spiritual system, that's coming online as we move away from the old paradigms, the old paradoxes that we've been taught to live under, that's been in control for so many years. That system is coming to an end. It's not going to go easy. It's going to go kicking and screaming for sure. But, I'm starting to recognize that's what I signed up for, as being one of those bullhorns to stand on the front lines, with others that are just like me, that have chose to incarnate into this existence at this specific time, with the access to the technologies that we have access to be able to reach the individuals, that need it. Because I'm just the first wave, there's others that are coming along that I'm here to just merely support. I'm here to speak life into, just like the divine breathe life into us to bring us alive. I'm just here to empower, to be support for those who are really going to shake the paradigm, who is really going to awaken the masses, who is really going to create these spiritual systems that will form the next 20, 30 plus years, as we continue to move through the age of Aquarius. So, I'm just fortunate enough to be one of the initial ones coming into this plane of existence, awakening. So definitely, if you're here watching this video, just know that you're part of the divine spiritual warriors, as we move through this existence. There's going to be a lot of things that probably happen in your life that you don't know why, but you feel a resonance with and you feel a call to. So just know you're not alone. Definitely comment down below, everyone that is here because that's what we're here to. We're here, we're soul tribes. You know, we're going to get each other through it. You're not alone, and just know that you're loved. So whatever you're going through, just know that you're not going through it alone. Just know that I too, you know, have experienced these things. I too will experience these things. I know what it's like to have good days. I know what it's like to have heavy days, especially heavy emotional days, with those intrusive thoughts that come into your mind. The one thing that helps me is music. I'm a huge Kid Cudi fan, so I will thank the divine every single day for Kid Cudi because one, you know, he's a living testimony of someone who has lived their life on display, that has their ups, has their downs, but still makes it through. So, you know, his music is very encouraging to me. I was actually listening to it on the way over here. So, but for me, music, I would say definitely positive music. And then I've always wanted a 2003 Subaru WRX. I wound up manifesting that a couple years ago, and I've spent years restoring it, you know, modifying it. And one of my favorite pastimes is getting in that car, finding a nice country back road, putting the windows down, sometimes with music on, sometimes, you know, a lot of times with music off, and just driving, you know, and just kind of getting into that meditative state to where there's no thoughts whatsoever. You know, it sounds bad, but, you know, there's no thoughts other than, you know, obviously keeping the car on the road, you know, driving and all that. But, you know, whatever happened before I got in the car, you know, ceases to exist. Whatever's going to happen after I get in the car doesn't exist because that reality hasn't been realized yet. But all that matters in that particular moment is just being in the power of now, just like Eckhart Tolle said, you know, being in the now. What's happening right now that I want to experience, because in that moment, in that experience was created just for me to experience and embody in that moment. So I want to be able to soak all that up and experience it as part of my journey, you know. So, but definitely hope that something I've said today definitely helps out those kind of going through the experiences. You know, like I said, as someone who has woken up or in the process of awakening and going through that journey, there's definitely been times that I felt like Cypher and wanted to go back to sleep, but, you know, I wasn't built like that. So, you know, no matter how many times they try and take my knees out from under me, I'm always going to get up. I'm always going to keep moving forward because I have people that need me in this world. You know, I have people like you, you know, that need a big brother, you know, a big uncle, you know, whatever name you want to give me. There's people in this world that need people like me and other people like me to help be their support, show them the love where they don't feel like they have that love, and just be a genuine soul that they can connect with. So just know, if you don't know anything else, just know that I love you. The divine loves you, and with that love, we can accomplish and we can do anything we set our minds to. So I love you. I love you. I love you so much. You have no idea how powerful you are, how much good you're going to bring to this world, and how much good you're going to do. So no matter what, don't let anybody tear you down, because there will be people that see that light within you, and because they're not doing the work, they see that you're doing the work. It's going to make them envious. It's going to make them jealous, and they're going to want to try and tear you down, and they're going to want to try and make you little because they see something in you that they weren't able to bring out in themselves. So don't you ever, ever, ever let anybody tear you down. Don't you ever let anybody make you feel small. And in those moments where they may successfully succeed, just for that split second, just remember that divine lives within you. He's with you. He's there to support you. He's there to carry you in the times that you need. All you got to do is just call out to him and whatever name that you have for him. And if you need somebody in the 3D realm to help talk you down off the ledge or just listen to you, just know that I'm here for you. You know, just drop a comment down below. I will definitely do my part that I signed up for when I incarnated into this life to do. And that's to be, you know, I don't want to say your guide, because I'm not telling anybody how to live. We all have our own experiences. But just share my story, share my shortcomings, you know, my pitfalls that I've had, how I made them through it, and how I'm still standing here despite all the attempts to try and tear me down. So just know I love you, family. Like I said, I love you, I love you, I love you. And even more important, the divine loves you. Have a good day, and let's create a better tomorrow.